British man who gave up his job in the city just before Christmas to go and fight against so-called Islamic State in Syria has returned home. Harry, who's 28 and has no military training, says he's been fighting alongside the YPG, or the Kurdish People's Protection Units, for the last 5 months. Kurdish forces, supported by an allied air campaign, have recently made gains against IS in the north of Syria. Harry was interviewed by the BBC whilst he was there.
Okay, covering fire. Suicide vest, rigged up and ready to blow.
And we can talk to him now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Harry is your real first name. We
Yes.
can see you. Why are we not using your surname?
Well, it's for safety reasons more than anything else. I've been volunteering against what is one of the most dangerous organisations in the world at the moment, and I would rather people didn't know my real identity. So yeah, security reasons.
But we can see you.
You can see me, but to be honest, that was a very hard decision to make, and even making the decision to first go out there and then then actually speak to people when I got home. It was just a case of saying, what can I do to help? What can I do to shine a light on the region? And by showing a real face, a real person going out who believes in democracy, believes in fighting for freedom against the Islamic State, it gives it more of a human element to the story.
Have you been interviewed by the police since you got back?
No. I was quite surprised about that, actually. The journey back was long, very difficult. Just 3 days ago, I was on the front line. I had to trek for 7.5 hours through the foothills of the mountains to get even into Iraq again. And when I arrived, very tired and very weary back in the UK, I was expecting at least to be pulled aside and questioned on where I had been and all the rest of it, but I wasn't.
Why do you think that was?
I think it's been well documented. I have spoken, I should say, to the press a lot, told them about the Kurds and what's going on the ground there. And I think I was very honest. I told them why I went, that I'd gone to help for humanitarian reasons. And I think they just thought, he's not a threat to the UK. So, yeah, I think...
But it is an offence to go and take part in the conflict in Iraq and Syria, according to the Home Office.
Well, to the Home Office, that's right. And I mean, I've always considered my role out there and me being out there is more dubious than illegal, because when I say that, I mean I wasn't fighting against the state, certainly not a democratic state. I wasn't fighting Assad. I mean,
it doesn't matter though. It's still an offence according to the British government.
Well, the British government is bombing ISIS at the moment, and I went out there to fight ISIS. So for me, there was no conflict of interest at all. I would never go out and fight Assad or any other government, even though I don't agree with Assad. Or I was very careful on who I decided to fight for. So although I think if I had done something illegal, I think they would have probably stopped me, and they would have prosecuted me.
I'm looking at a British Royal Marine questioned by police on suspicion of planning to fight with Kurdish forces against Islamic State. He was about to get on a plane to go to Turkey, 22-year-old. He hadn't done anything, and he was questioned. I just wonder what the difference is with you.
I suppose for him, little was known about exactly his reasons for going out, perhaps. Me, I've been quite clear. I've been very honest with everyone who's contacted me.
No, I know. It's just against government advice. It's just interesting that you haven't...
been picked up.
You haven't been
spoken to.
I just wonder if they think... I don't know. You're different. You're white. You speak well. You're articulate. You used to work in the city.
Yeah, and I think if they probably says to themselves, look, what's in the interest of the public here? Is Harry is Harry a threat to the British people? And is it in the interest for the prosecution service to actually prosecute him? And it clearly isn't.
What did you actually do out there then?
I went for a number of reasons, to both fight on the ground, to actually help against the fight against ISIS, but also to draw attention to the conflict and to the human element to the conflict, because not enough was being done. When I actually went out there, I found myself doing a variety of different tasks. If I'm honest, I was mostly doing fighting. I arrived
doing
just after
fighting.
Christmas. Doing fighting. That sounds odd. Sorry.
No, but I mean you've got an AK-47 or what? Describe.
That's right. Doing fighting. I mean, what I meant by that, sorry, is that I joined a unit of Kurdish fighters, and for 5 months I did nothing but liberate the region, just push ISIS back out of the villages.
But you have no military training. You don't speak any Middle East language?
That's true. When I arrived, I was given some training by the Kurds. I spent a month initially on the front line where there was nothing going on. It was like the First World War, where we had an entrenched position, the enemy did as well, and there was 400 yards of open ground. And to try and take each position would incur massive losses. So there was neither side wanted to move. So I had plenty of opportunity in that first month to train with my fellow foreigners, who are very professional, ex-French Foreign Legion, ex-US Marines. So it was a good solid month of training.
Yeah. Okay. And so the fighting itself involved what?
It was very. It was a very different and unique sort of way to conduct offensive things. We didn't have what the British Army has, obviously, and it was very old-fashioned tactics. Just as I mentioned earlier that it was like the First World War, I can remember numerous occasions when we were asked to leave the safety of our positions and just attack in the middle of the night, just walk across the open ground and try and seize the village and to surprise them. So it was very difficult. It was very intense firefights. We had to call in numerous airstrikes we started getting a lot more support by the Americans towards the end of my particular campaign. Yeah, a very, very hard, difficult war of attrition and attack.
Did you achieve anything alongside your fellow Kurdish fighters?
We did. I mean, the entire region, the difference between what the country's like when I arrived and now that I'm leaving is enormous. I mean, when I arrived, the entire region was overrun with ISIS fighters. And now, now the canton is liberated. So the last offensive that I took part in, we liberated over 1,200 square kilometres of land, numerous villages, and actually killed.
So will the Kurdish fighters be able to hold that, or is it going to be, you know, like a tide ebbing and flowing? At one point, the Kurdish fighters hold it, then IS come back, then you take it back again. Well,
the seriousness of the last offensive was that we were after a mountain range called the Abdulaziz Mountains, which lock in Rojava. Rojava is commonly known as the Fertile Crescent of Syria. It's got on one side the Turkish mountains, and in the south mountains, another mountain range basically, and they're the Fertile Crescent in the middle. So by pushing when I say ISIS, I mean on the other side of that mountain range, they were able to then build defences. So the last week I've been doing nothing but digging trenches, putting together sandbags, and really, focusing on, as you say, the defensive fortifications.
And why have you come back?
Well,
I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying this. You look so well and so well rested.
Really?
I cannot believe you've been fighting against Islamic State, some of the most vile, disgusting, heinous militants in the world, if not the most. Yeah, well, I mean, I've lost a lot of weight, certainly. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm actually still a little unwell, and I am incredibly tired. It's even though I had slept in a hotel last night and had a very good night's sleep, I still feel incredibly drained. It has been a very difficult 5 and a bit months. But yeah, I mean, it's in terms of what I've achieved and why I've come back is we liberated the canton. I had to come back sometime. I've been through a great deal. I've seen a lot of my friends die, and I thought to myself, right, at least I've achieved something here. Now I can come back. I can tell people about it, and I can start, shining a light in a different way back in the UK in the safety with my family. You lost friends then? Yeah, a number of both Kurdish and foreign fighters have been killed over the past few months. I've been talking a lot about him this morning, but the British fighter Costa, Eric Scurfield, I knew him very well. We were together until Hamas, and he died shortly after that. And it's
it's so strange to be back in the UK with the threat of all that I've been doing out there finally lifted off my shoulders, all the weight of it all, and I'd like to tell people more about sort of Costa and about some of the other foreign fighters who go out there and who haven't come back.
How was he killed?
Well, he died. I wasn't with him. I actually saw him the day before he died. I can remember vividly just waving goodbye to him. He was on the back of an APC truck, and he went off to fight in a village that I keep saying Daesh. It's a local way of calling ISIS village, and he got into a massive firefight. And he was the circumstances of his death were just incredible. He was in the back of the APC, going forwards, picking up wounded fighters, bringing them back to safety, and also he was offensive, just firing RPGs from the back of the APC and firing heavy machine guns. And he went something like 6 or 7 times back into the fray constantly. And he was whenever he was back, he was congratulating people, just saying, "Please, well done for helping me," and all the rest of it, supporting them, even though he was in the hardest part of the fight. And then he went out for the last time, and an RPG hit the front of his APC, and he was hit by shrapnel, and it limped back. The Kurds inside were wounded but fine, and he was already dead. Even though he wasn't wearing a British uniform, he was a British Marine, and the man deserves a medal, because he died for uniquely British values, which is freedom, democracy, and helping people. So yeah.
Will you go back?
Yeah. I mean, not in the short term.
I mean, it's still an offence.
I know.
To go out there and take part in the conflict, but you'll go back.
Yeah, because I know what I'm doing is right. I feel so passionately and so strongly about it. I know that David Cameron did say a few months ago that there is a difference between those who go out to join the Kurdish forces or the fighters fighting ISIS and the ones that go out just to join al-Nusra or the Islamic State. So. Yeah, I think you're right. It is dubious. It is perhaps illegal to go out and fight. But I think history will judge me better. I think people will realise that this is someone who is going to help people and not to hurt.
Shireen on Twitter says the Met Police should still have interviewed you.
They should have done.
Do you think it's because you're not a Muslim?
No, I think. No, I don't. I think that. As I said, it was well documented why I was out there. I also think that they've got better things to do, basically, than interview a man who went out for humanitarian reasons more than anything else. That I went on the understanding that as long as I abide by the Geneva Convention, as long as I never do anything that's remotely illegal in terms of I take prisoners and all the rest of it, then I'll be absolutely fine. So yeah, I think I'm not a threat, basically.